to discuss. When it come to news, ain't no better than us. When it come to news, ain't no one you can trust. We got a lot to touch, so it's time to crush. We got a lot to discuss. When it come to news, ain't no better than us. When it come to news, ain't no one you can trust. We got a lot to touch, so it's time to crush. So it's time to crush.
Peace and blessings, and welcome back to Xbox Frontline News with your boy, the King. And this is the weekend edition. This is the video. Now, I want to give a shout out to members because you get this video first. You get this video at least 72 hours before anyone else. And I just want to say thank you so much for being a member. But today's sponsor of the video is brought to you by HyperX Clutch Talon Controller. Now, as you can see, this controller has a holding module for your phone, which is absolutely dope. But also, I mean, you could take this piece off. As you can see here, it's very easy to snap on, it's very easy to snap off, and it locks in and is very secure. But this controller itself is very lightweight, very modular. You can take the faceplate off and you can remove all the buttons that you need to remove. They're on magnetically, and you can just, put them back in. All right, and you can snap the faceplate right back on. There's a magnetic faceplate, as you can see. Very easy. The buttons change, the layouts change. You have different type of button configurations that you can use. The case itself is in-place charging case, what I would like to say. So these are the buttons over here that you can use. You can swap out for the D-pad and everything else like that. That's the holder. This is an in-charging case right here. You can see the in-charging place right here. While it's being plugged up, you can have the cable running out and charging while it's sitting on the table or whatever. That way, once it's finished charging, you're ready to go. You're ready to take it where you want to take it to. These are the back buttons, and these are the hard stops for the triggers. So like if you're playing a game that requires you to have hair trigger shots, you can do that. You can make it as close or as tight as possible to get those rapid fire shots off really quickly. This is a really good controller. It's lightweight, and I'm putting it through its paces. I'm going to show you, I debuted this controller yesterday. Let me show you exactly what I did on Fight Night Friday. And I want to thank every one of you who showed up for Fight Night Friday. Oh!
Oh, what? How you gonna?
Oh, no, chill.
Oh, no.
Get off that win streak. Give me that win streak back, son. Give me that beat, fool. It's a full-time jack move. Kenshito's in the building and I'm back, fool.
That's why you got shot in your chest.
Nah, those are fingers. Those are fingers. Yeah, those are fingers, bro. Those are fingers. Yeah, so, like, you don't know. He uses fingers, like, to push into your body. Yo, you don't know about Fist of the North Star? How you gonna have your channel called Dip Down and Anime and don't know about Fist of the North Star? Oh, I brought the box down to show you guys what stuff I'm gonna be giving away to members. Damn.
Round one. Get ready. Fight SPG.
Y'all gonna fight or what y'all doing? Y'all just.
Oh, this dude is on me, son.
Oh wait, are y'all fighting right now? Damn, why can I spectate this bitch?
They don't like you, bro. Oh my God!
I'm about to create like to put a hurt on you. He said, y'all motherfuckers play more combat without me.
Ah, the fuck came down! Clouds come down! Alright. Oh, that's Cray! I'm thinking I'm playing. Oh, sorry, my bad. Hold on. Cray plays different. So you gotta play Cray different.
Damn, Harless, you see all the restrictions they put now on the damn Gundam TCG?
Nope, I haven't been following the TCG site.
You got a whole bunch
Yeah.
of band pairs, limited to
Nah, son.
You gotta build that.
Nah, son. Nah, son. I told you. You gonna get these hands. You gonna get these hands, son. That's Cray all day. Knockout King. Awesome. Listen to the music. Oh, shit. That was probably the most epic KO ever. You weren't strong. You hear the music? Oh. As you can see, I cannot be stopped. This controller had me on win streaks that were incredible. I'm still using this controller, and I'm doing it in versus mode because I have it going against the Razer Wolverine version 3 Pro. So it's the HyperX Clutch Talon versus the Razer Wolverine version 3 Pro at the moment, but there's a lot of different things that I'm loving about this controller. So thank you, HyperX. And the formal review of this controller, you can catch that tomorrow on Iron Lord's podcast. Now, speaking of Iron Lord's podcast, let me show you what I got for you guys. Members, I'm going to be gifting this to 5 lucky members. This wall plaque that you're able to put on your wall, you can see, you can hang it right here. It's 3D printed wall plaque of Iron Lord's podcast, The Wolf. This is an amazing piece of art. It's brought to you by Ben Kenobi, and I absolutely love them. There will be other things inside the package that I will be giving out. So again, we're going to hit the goal of over 200 members, and I'm going to select 5 lucky winners of these members, and it's going to be glorious when those are handed out because I'm going to ship them to you, priority overnight shipping, with a lot of other stuff in a swag bag. But let's get to these topics because right now these topics are tearing up the streets, and I want to know if Asha Sharma is a federal agent, and should we be worried about our finances when it comes to Asha? Well, this article is brought to you by The Verge. Microsoft's Xbox is to reset, pivoting Obsidian to make Fallout instead of Avowed. And this is brought to you by Jay Peters. Josh Sawyer, the director of Fallout New Vegas, is reportedly heading up the new game. Understanding what that means, a lot of us were anticipating this type of title being made, especially by Josh Sawyer. Let's get into the article. As part of Microsoft's big Xbox reset, which includes layoffs affecting 3,200 staffers, but only affecting 1,600 staffers as of now, the rest of those staffers will be affected throughout the fiscal year. Jettison studios and shifting investments to focus on higher priority projects. Obsidian Entertainment is changing its plans. The studio behind games like Grounded, The Outer Worlds is starting a new Fallout title and has canceled multiple projects, including the sequel of last year's Avowed. Well, canceled is a harsh word. Putting them on the shelf is pretty much more accurate, because the staff that was working on the title, and the title is pretty much along in its tooth, what they did do was take a large amount of that staff, place that staff on the Fallout, while having a smaller amount of team members working on the sequel to Avowed. Despite the success of the Fallout TV show, which is getting a 3rd season, Xbox hasn't released a new game in the series since 2018's Fallout 76. Josh Sawyer, Obsidian Studios design director, will head up a new Fallout game. Sawyer, who has served as a director on 2022's Pentiment and on Fallout New Vegas, has apparently been directing an RPG that was similar in structure and thematically to Fallout, but was not part of the franchise, Bloomberg says. As for Avowed, the sequel, Bloomberg reports that development was still going well and will have an announced within the next year. Obsidian is still planning to work on early access game Grounded 2 and DLC for the Outer Worlds too. An Xbox spokesman declined comment. The company laid off about 25% of Obsidian staff last week, according to Kotaku. This is a great idea, being that the Fallout franchise is a huge moneymaker for Xbox and Microsoft in general. Having a new Fallout game is tantamount and should have high priority. Seeing how New Vegas was largely looked at as one of the best titles in the Fallout franchise, and Josh Sawyer was the individual that directed that game, well, having Josh Sawyer back to deliver a new title made absolutely the most sense. So can't wait to get more on this and can't wait to hear more on Avowed 2, which is still being worked on. Is our CEO working for the feds? And that answer would be yes. And this is brought to you by VGC and Andy Robeson. Xbox CEO Asha Sharma named as an advisor to the U.S. Federal Reserve on jobs and productivity. She is the only active CEO that is part of these task force. There are 4 different task forces. She's part of one, headed up by 3 special advisors to handle 3 or 4 different sectors of these task force. The Federal Reserve is the central banking system of the United States, and on Thursday it announced the leadership and objective of 5 task force established to advance the conduct of monetary policy. Now, when I misspoke and said 4, the 5th, she's part of a dual task force. Notably, Sharma was one of the 3 advisors on a productivity and jobs task force, which the Federal Reserve says will be assisting, among other things, the impact of AI. And she is keenly qualified for this position based upon her previous work in AI and also working for the largest AI company in the world, that is Microsoft. According to the news release, the task force will look at the economic impact of new general purpose technologies, including artificial intelligence, to inform the Federal Reserve's policy judgments. Now, that is very keen because right now we do know that AI is affecting us as a whole. And what does that do to the economy? How does that break down? And how can we use the technology to help inform the judgments over at the Federal Reserve? Supported by Federal Reserve staff, the task force will operate independently with a mandate to follow the evidence, provide candid feedback, and produce vigorous findings for the Federal Open Market Committee. It is unclear how appointments were made. Sharma is the only active CEO named to the 5 task force. However, the former CEO of Walmart, Doug McCullough, will advise on data. That is a weighty position. But again, these are the perks of being a CEO named to boards and task force in order to get extra bread. But I think this has a deeper footnote, and we should monitor this further. If you didn't know what the major reset over at Xbox was, this is it in a nutshell, breaking it down. Because before it was a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt right before the major so-called reset over at Xbox. And come to find out, a lot of it was unfounded, unmerited, and just downright diabolical when you look at the individuals spreading these type of rumors, lies, and deceit. But now we do have answers, and these answers are a little bit more palatable than what was being pushed, peddled, and just talked about vocally. This is brought to you by The Verge and The Verge staff. Xbox resets, all the news about Microsoft layoffs and the studio changes. Xbox is making some big changes again, and on June 10th, a few months after Asha Sharma took over as CEO, she and the newly promoted Chief of Staff Officer Matt Booty sent a memo out to the staff warning an Xbox reset. This business, they said, is facing significant changes, including 3% accountability margin, massively higher component prices for consoles due to the memory and storage shortage, and overextended studio system. Understanding those words, overextended studio system, they purchased a lot of studios, and a lot of those studios never gave back the return of investment, or the oversight wasn't there for products, or how can I say, games that didn't have the it factor. Some of the games felt like passion projects. On June 6th, the company announced mass layoffs at Xbox as part of a broader cut across the company. About 1,600 staff was laid off that day, and 1,600 more will be cut over the course of Microsoft's next fiscal year. South of Midnight developer Compulsion Games and Psychonauts created Double Fine Productions will be independent again, while Senua Ninja Theory, developer of the developer Ninja Theory, and State of Decay maker Undead Labs will get new owners. In addition, management over at the Blade developer Arcane Studios is beginning to require consultation with its Works Council to review potential strategic options. No studios is closed. All studios are still open. All projects are still being worked on. Sharma noted that there will also be changes to Activision, Blizzard, ZeniMax, King, Mojang, and Xbox Game Studios that will vary in size. It reportedly includes cutting around half the staff of Doom developer Idea Software. It is also keenly to know that none of that over at id Software were working on any games at this moment. They did pitch a couple of projects, but none of them was working on any active games, and they just released the DLC for Doom. Under Sharma's leadership, Xbox has already made some other major changes, including upcoming price hikes for the Xbox consoles, lowering Game Pass prices, but cutting out the new Call of Duty games, rebranding Xbox to Xbox, and making both Gears of War ED and Clockwork Revolution Xbox console exclusives. We're also looking forward to future games being more exclusive to the Xbox platform. Knowing that Xbox did the best when it came to understanding these algorithms, this was the best case scenario. And in knowing that, as a gamer, the gamers won out. No studio closures, and the games live on. That was good. It's funny when you win a generation based upon your ability to hand over a game to a friend and say, this is how you trade a game. Literally, that's what PlayStation did. And understanding how frustrated the fan base may be because they feel like they were bamboozled, lied to. It's even worse when a former CEO comes out and talks about this grift, that I'm calling it, so vocally, knowing that PlayStation was always meant to go digital completely, is disingenuous. And seeing individuals champion the fake cause of don't know dis, no buy. Well, this is brought to you by Kotaku and Rebecca Valentine. Former PlayStation boss says Sony getting rid of game discs makes him kind of sad as a fan. Notice that he said as a fan. Because as the CEO, former CEO, it's business. It is the bottom line. PlayStation is preparing to cease production of physical discs released by releasing its games beginning in 2028. That date is specifically very, very important. You have to know that January 2028 is very important based upon the handheld console being released in 2027. That's going to be a dockable device that is going to be on par with the Nintendo Switch, that is going to be fighting the Nintendo Switch on its battleground. And there will not be any physical media that goes with that handheld device. Fans are furious, if not furious enough to stick with their guns on not buying digital games, but thus far, PlayStation remains steadfast and hasn't acknowledged the complaints any further because it is a small, minor group that is arguing and screaming. 200,000 of y'all are not making a dent when over 15 million have pre-ordered Grand Theft Auto 6 and hasn't even seen any gameplay. Now, on the outside looking in, former PlayStation boss Sean Layden is adopting a more neutral attitude. He's not mad. He's behind the scenes, and he knows this wasn't some sort of snap decision on Sony's part. But he is sad about it strictly as a fan, he said, because understanding as a CEO, as a businessman, as a person that formerly ran PlayStation, he understands the ultimate goal is to extract the most amount of money from the consumer. And PlayStation is playing directly into those cards. I spoke to Sean Layden earlier this week on a number of subjects. Stay tuned for that. I won't. But I had to ask him about the new disc news. He characterized it as dramatic decision on Sony part and reflected on his own game collection, which contains a mix of physical and digital games. He told me that he preferred to buy digital for games like Call of Duty, but for some titles like God of War, he wanted to have a box and the art and the disc and all in his library. I think it's probably a whole lot of financial analysts that went behind this decision, which made them do that. I won't take issue with that because I'm a finance guy. Understanding that he knows the position. He knew this was always going to happen, and this is just a small talking point when it comes to Sony and their digital life. You will own nothing. They will own everything. And that is exactly where they want it and are going to be. In other PlayStation news that doesn't look good for the company, and this is brought to you by Tweaktown and Derek Strickland. Sony CEO sells $4.7 million worth of its stock days after the PlayStation announced the disc phase out. Sony CEO Hiroki Totoki has sold over $4.7 million worth of stock just days after the PlayStation announced it would no longer produce discs in 2028. That was when the stock was at its highest because shareholders understood that Sony no longer producing discs and everything going digital is the best place for Sony to be. So he sold at a high. And can you blame the guy? Knowing that Sony is going down in flames, well, PlayStation, why not get out while the getting is good? He sold 56% of his stock shares. That's a significant amount. Man, the last time somebody stole stock shares, that was Jim Ryan. I don't know how that worked out. Yeah, I do. Peace, Jim. Josh Sawyer heading up a Fallout game is some of the biggest news to come out of this. We all love New Vegas. For some people, New Vegas is the better franchise, well, the better title in the Fallout franchise. How big of a rake was it for Xbox not to have a Fallout game in conjunction with the television show? With 2 seasons being successes and not having a press junket that had a physical or digital or any game to go along with it. They had to take Fallout 76, which isn't a mainline type of title when it comes to the fan base, and kind of shoehorn that into the Fallout, I don't know, accessory to the TV show. I don't think that was a good idea, but that was the only idea that they had at the moment. Asha is fast tracking a new title based upon that. Xbox itself is in course correcting mode and is in healing mode. But to do what she did by spinning off studios, not canceling any games, not closing any studios, and putting the people in places that needs to win, I think that was the best case scenario. Everyone said it was going to be an absolute bloodbath, and not to look lightly at people losing their jobs. But I want you to think about it for one second. If the studios was healthy, if the business was healthy, job loss would not have occurred. So we're looking at an unhealthy situation that needed the reduction in staff in order to continue to operate. And largely, a lot of that staff that was removed probably was the reason why the business was so unhealthy. Besides the fact that a lot of the managerial people that were in place are no longer there. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing, expecting different results. They had to change the ingredients. They had to fix it up. They had to make it right. And whether you like it or not, that's the natural order of things. The business has to be healthy. I'm here for the Xbox brand. Don't really like Microsoft too much. But the Xbox brand is a brand that I love and a brand that I hold true. I know they're going to fix a lot of things, even down to Game Pass, and what that will ultimately turn out into. Would it turn into a larger test bed for new IPs coming from third-party studios launching into the service, while Xbox day ones probably disappear and then show up 3 to 6 months later, but then you can initially buy them first, and then Xbox Game Pass having some exclusives for themselves? I don't know. But you have to show value into the service, and the service has to be something that no one else can get. There has to be things in that service that people can't get anywhere else. It has to be like Netflix. It has to be like Amazon Prime. It has to show its identity. So if Game Pass is to survive, Game Pass needs exclusives that the Xbox platform doesn't have, so that you as an Xbox owner definitely jumps aside Game Pass, but it gives it value on the outside looking in. I don't know what that turns out to be, and I don't know what that is, but I do know that Asha, being a U.S. Federal Reserve agent in charge of productivity and jobs and the impact of AI, is absolutely incredible to see that you put this AI individual in place for this that works at the largest AI company. I don't know if she's a mole there trying to figure out exactly what's going on and tipping off Microsoft ahead of time. I don't know what it is. You could write this into a movie script. But does it take away from her job? She seems to be doing her job pretty effectively. What does that mean in the overall grand scheme of things in the world? I don't know. I can tell you this, though. Her ambitions are greater than what you think. And if Satya doesn't watch his back, well, then she'll be taking his job. Because if she could take Phil Dominus Maximus Aurelius Spencer's job, well, Satya is nothing but a piece of cake. But this is Xbox Frontline News with your boy, The King. I'm glad that you're here. I want you to like, follow, and subscribe, hit the notification bell. But I also want you to go where game is game and win is win. And I want you to try to play the Game Pass.
And sometimes you better wake yourself up in the morning and you better remind yourself, I'm one of them ones. Yeah, I may not look like it, I may not feel like it, my body may be in pain right now, but I'm one of them ones. My life may not be going the way that I planned for it to go, but I'm one of them ones. My world may be flipped upside down today, but I'm one of them ones. You one of them ones.